In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
There we go. Hey YouTubers, if you like what you see, make sure you click subscribe below. Today we're going to be talking redraft, quarterback rankings, and if you have time, go on www.podcastawards.com and make sure you vote for TCP.
Football league isn't an option. We present to you a Triple Coverage Podcast.
But do you think Darnold would be a good fit in Baltimore?
I don't know what Baltimore is doing in their backfield. I'm so confused about what's going on with the Ravens' backfield. It's just blasphemous to me, and I don't know why that is.
I was the one out there teaching you how to be ruthless.
3, 2, 1.
Ronald Jones. Juju's definitely not quiet. He definitely wants to be seen. He definitely wants to put himself out there.
Juju's like the Travis Sutton of TCP.
Right.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. The three of us are finally back in studio together. It's a great day.
It's a wonderful day. I'm very glad to be back.
Yeah, this is, 3 weeks going on, right? That we had all three of us here.
It was weird. That was the first week I missed, like a full week. And when I came back in the studio, set up everything, get all the equipment going or whatever, I was literally ready to it feels like it had been like months. I don't know why, but it just felt like it had been a long time.
Well, you were the key guy as far as the equipment.
You're the cog. Man.
I was.
The machine.
Not anymore.
I had to take notes.
2/3 of TCP knows what to do now. If Travis follows your notes, then all three of us know what to do.
Yeah, they were very meticulous.
Oh,
Well, it looks like, I think those notes look like instructions from IKEA putting together a dresser or something. It's hard to read. There's no words.
I was
It's
like,
just pictures.
Put A into B. Twist.
All right, so today
Yeah.
it's a redraft talk.
Yeah.
We haven't talked redraft in a while.
This is when we have to vamp up. Is it vamp up?
Ramp up.
Ramp up. And I don't know where the V came from.
Just don't cramp up.
But we're not cramping here.
Twilight episode.
No, this is where people start to...
Ramp up.
It's Twilight. Are you team, what are the two guys' names?
Lampin'.
What are the two guys? I know one of you two knows the two dudes'
Edward
names.
and something.
Edward and Travis knows.
It
I know you know.
starts with a J, right? It's
No, Josh?
No, it's
Edward
Team-
and Jake.
Edward. Is it Jake?
No.
Edward's one of them. For
Jacob.
Sure.
It's Jacob.
You sure?
There you
Yes.
go.
Okay. I'm a Jacob guy, I guess.
Couldn't tell you which one was which.
Nah,
though.
me either.
She was the wolf, right?
I think they all were, weren't they? I don't know. Never
Yeah.
mind. I've never seen the movie. Let's stay on
Vampires and
topic.
wolves.
This is where we ramp up the redraft talk because July's coming and August is right around the corner, which means preseason's coming along and people start doing their drafts,
There are redrafts taking place at this moment.
which is scary because a lot of things can happen. And we've learned in the past that many things happen in training camps and preseason with injuries and off-field arrests and issues and all these other things that can happen. So normally in redraft, you want to wait till the last possible opportunity you have right before the season starts. If you don't know what you're doing, that's what you want. If you know what you're doing, but it could still always backfire. And like one of the leagues that Jay's in, I think you're still in it too, the Mike Higgins League, they do it literally the last week in between, wasn't it, preseason 4?
They always do
before?
it the Tuesday before the season starts. And
Right.
The season starts on a Thursday, so it's like literally 2 days
It's
before
in
the
September
season kicks off.
basically, right?
Oh,
Which
yeah.
Most of them are in August, but that one particular is in September, and that saved a lot of people from like Jamal Charles injuries that goes down for the season, or whoever the case may be. It gets rid of that.
Well,
and
it
it
was-
makes you feel a little bit better that at least you know your guys are all healthy going into that season.
Last year was the Spencer Ware deal because Spencer
Yes.
Ware got hurt towards the end of preseason, and you could get Kareem Hunt in the 7th, 8th, 9th round in a redraft, and then all of a sudden Ware goes down.
1 week later.
Now he's going in like the late first round, early second.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a huge difference.
It's kind of crazy. Like
It
I
is.
would love, especially if you're a guy that kind of looks at which rookies to take a shot on in a redraft. Like that would have kind of like got under my skin a little bit.
For
like,
sure.
Trying to target Hunt later, and all of a sudden you're like, well, there goes that.
Yeah,
Now
that
his
year's
value's
over.
gone,
That's
yeah.
what sucks though about redraft, in my opinion. It's like sometimes it has that stipulation of like that guy David Johnson, perfect example last year, gets hurt week 1. your season's over. Like, if you can't make a trade with somebody that's absolutely stacked at running back, and you try to commit, and as soon as somebody sees that you're hurting, they're gonna say, I'm not gonna help him. Like, I'm good where I'm at. That's one less guy I have to worry about beating me. If I go out and trade this guy, and then he ends up making the playoffs in my league and ends up winning the championship or whatever, he's gonna get blamed forever because he's like, why'd you help this guy out? He was against the ropes. He was dead to the water without David Johnson, which should have been his #1 pick. It's just hard to trade in redraft. It's very hard, especially when the stud goes down.
It happened to us last year in the big boy league. Our
Aaron
quarterback went down, Rodgers went down, and we were pretty set at receiver. And I tried trading Larry Fitzgerald to get a top 5 receiver because at the time Fitzgerald was a top 5
Top 5 quarterback, right?
I was trying to get a top 5 quarterback, yeah. And the guy that I was trying to deal with was like, I can't do it, man. I need receivers bad, but I can't help you out. He's like, you're already in first place.
Right.
So that's how redraft just works.
And that's
I'm not going to do it.
That's how Dynasty was born, probably. People got tired of, like, you know what, if I get one main injury to a guy, I'm just, like, that's it. I'm done for the season, and it's kind of a crappy feeling. So I think that's how Dynasty ended up like, hey, you know what if we keep these guys? First came Keeper League, like, oh, I'm going to keep this guy for the next. Then came Dynasty, and now Dynasty's kind of taking over. And at least in our lives.
Yeah, in our lives, for sure.
Some people still are just I want to be in that one redraft league, and it's a family league, and it's a whatever, and it's a clear cut. I just, I don't want to get too involved.
Fantasy's growing, though, I think.
For 100%.
It's spreading like the plague.
Wildfire, I would say.
Wildfire? Yeah, that's kind of dangerous.
I don't mind.
Plague isn't dangerous.
Yeah,
They're both death. I mean,
14-10, it was dangerous.
Yeah. Not anymore in 2018.
Look at antibiotics.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to talk quarterback redraft.
We are.
Rankings that we just kind of worked on recently and kind of came out with. I had a few struggles. We're doing this with the 4-point touchdowns and a point for every 25 yards. So every 100 yards you get 4 points in mind, right?
Is it 4 points for a touchdown or 6?
I thought we did 4.
We said 6.
Yeah.
We said 6 on the
6 throwing.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. Yes, 6 throwing, and 6 rushing.
Oh, that's
We
right.
did.
That's right.
Okay.
My bad. I got my rankings are all messed up.
We're talking about Superflex. The Superflex league that we did was a 4 point for a touchdown, I think. But yeah, for redraft, 6 points for everything.
And these obviously these rankings can change at any time. This is something we're probably going to go through probably week by week and kind of adjust, because if you have somebody like Luck that's way down and all of a sudden you get out good reports that everything is fine, you may want to bump him up a little bit.
Mine's rock solid, actually.
Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, they're coming off of injuries too, so those are guys that may be moving around.
I drew mine in some wet cement out in my front yard, so I'm waiting for that to harden because mine's locked in. Like, there's not going to be guys where, like, every one of the guys that we're going to talk about today, there's very few that are unknown or rookies or whatever. These guys are all vets. Like, you have a couple guys in their second year, and obviously Patrick Mahomes, stuff like that. But top 12 guys are like, they're going to be solid. You know who's going to be in your top 12. You might be 1 or 2 spots off from the next guy, but I don't imagine me taking somebody that's like number 12 or 13 on my list and bumping him up to number 5 or 6 because some story comes out about something. But I guess it's possible.
I don't think it's just the story. I think it's training camps are starting.
Mm-hmm.
Something happens to somebody and they kind of go down, or they get a certain kind of injury, their shoulder or whatever. Yeah, you might.
Okay.
Some guys might start sliding. I can see that. I have a couple guys that are coming back from injury that are a little low. I just couldn't put them higher because of coming back from injury, and I could see moving them up a few spots if
Sure, okay.
everything comes out.
Yeah, a few here and there. Do we want to start like top 3? Everyone want to say their top 3 and see if there's any difference there?
How do you want to do it? There's not much difference in our top 3.
I think there is.
Well, there's only one.
Right. You have everyone has Aaron Rodgers number 1.
Correct.
I mean, that's pretty clear cut. It's easy, even though he's coming off injury. No one cares. Russell Wilson number 2 for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is where it varies. James, have Tom Brady. Jay, you have Brady as well?
I have Brady as well.
Travis does not.
I have Cameron Newton.
So, okay. Like, to me, it's very hard to put any of these guys above Tom Brady because of what he does, but with all the stuff that's going on there with Edelman and just, I don't know. I have a weird feeling about New England this year. But their division's so weak. It's like...
He has Brady at 4, though, so it's not like he has him way down.
Right. So, it's the same area. It's top 5.
This is more about Cam Newton. Why are you so high on him?
I like Cam Newton. I think he kind of had a down year last year. He's got more weapons there to work with. So, I mean, they feed that running back there. They got the new wide receiver DJ Moore and Devin Funchess, and they got Greg Olsen coming back. So I think it'll be closer to 2016 than it is to 2017.
So I actually had
plus he runs a few touchdowns in.
For sure. That's a huge bonus always. And they don't have that big run. They love to use Cam Newton on the 1 yard line. They love it, and quarterback fantasy owners of him love it as well. And they added C.J. Anderson to the backfield, but that doesn't scare me. I don't think that C.J. Anderson just automatically gets a goal line carries, So I think that Cam Newton's still going to get those 1 yard touchdowns. Even if it's like 2 or 3 of them, that's still a huge bonus.
Yeah, I like guys don't necessarily repeat. Guys always shift around. We like to put the same guys kind of up in the mix, but I think Cam Newton's due for a bounce back a little bit.
I agree. I actually had Cam Newton at 4, so I was right behind him. I just couldn't put him. I couldn't put him above Tom Brady, but it's very possible that he outscores Brady this year for sure because of the rushing and the quarterback sneaks and what have you. So, but Cam Newton for you, Jay, you didn't have him in the top 4. You didn't have him in the top 6.
I have him top 10. I have him number 8 right now.
So we should go to you and say, why are you down on him?
Why are you so low? Why do you hate Cam Newton?
I don't hate him so much. It's more that as I'm going through my rankings, I just couldn't find spots to put other guys that I liked better. I mean, Carson Wentz I have ahead of him. I have Deshaun Watson, and I have Matt Stafford. The only guy I would switch him out with is maybe Drew Brees. I like all those other guys more than Cam Newton this year. I like Stafford, Watson, Wentz, Brady more than Newton this year. So, I mean, I still have him in the second tier, but the only guy I really flip-flop him with is Drew Brees.
And that's 1 spot?
2 spots.
2 spots? Mm-hmm. So for me, for 4 through 7, I have Cam Newton, Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, all the same names that Jay just said. I also have Matt Stafford right after him, and that rounds out my top 8. You have anything different, Travis, that's exciting or...
He does.
Yeah, I mean,
let's hear it.
For me, Brady was my 4 after Newton. Then I got Kirk Cousins at 5. I got Matt Stafford at 6, Deshaun Watson at 7, and Breeze at 8.
So the only difference I hear there is Kirk Cousins, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Cousins going to a new team, Minnesota. All the weapons around him actually stayed the same as far as who the guys there's Diggs and Thielen and Rudolph, and now he gets Cook back there as well. So do we? Obviously, you have him taking a huge uptick. Do you know where he finished last season? I don't offhand, like in a regular scoring. I mean, I can check it real quick. But are you imagining him taking like a huge leap?
No, I think we've already seen him produce at a high level and finish top 5 a couple times. And he's going to a better situation in Minnesota with better weapons, a better team overall. So yeah, I like his situation in Minnesota.
Last year he did finish 7th. So it's not that big of a leap.
The dumpster fire going on.
It really was. It really was. And like, who's the receiving core in Washington that did anything last year?
The offensive line was all hurt.
So. Well, he hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver in his entire career, and he's still finishing.
Keep falling back on that, bro.
Well, I mean, a
fact
is a fact.
Spreads the ball around a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't mean his fantasy points. So just because he throws 8 receivers instead of 2,
he still finishes in the top 10 every single year.
That's crazy.
Even though that's going on. The one reason I have him at number 11, and which is still a quarterback 1, the reason I have him a lot lower than you do, I think, is there's a couple reasons. I'm worried about the offensive coordinator with Pat Shurmur leaving Minnesota because you saw what he did for Case Keenum and the kind of offense he had. And then number 2, Washington hasn't had much of a running game since, was it Alfred Morris maybe a few years ago? It's kind of been like a lot of injuries, a lot of guys plug and play. I think they have a really good running game with Cook and Latavius Murray in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So I think that maybe Cousins doesn't have to throw that much, especially with their defense being a top 3 defense in the NFL. So it's not so much that I think that Cousins is not going to do well. I just think that he's not going to have to throw as much as he did in Washington, and I think they're going to rely more on the run game. I still think he'll finish top 12, but I don't see him finishing as a top 5 in fantasy realm.
I actually think that's a good point. I think that Minnesota's defense is going to make it to where he doesn't have to go out there and throw the ball 40 times a game. He can if you need him to, which is great to have.
And he has great receivers to throw it to.
For sure. So it just depends. If he can get in a couple of shootouts, Minnesota's defense maybe gives up, some points, then yeah, I love him. But yeah, I think that top 5 is just a little too high for me. I have him at 9. But I still would not be shocked whatsoever if he finished in the top 5. Because I think that he could easily squeak ahead of Cam Newton, Carson Wentz because of his injury, Deshaun Watson we have a small sample size from. Like these guys, I'm solid on where they're at, but they're all very, very close. Like, I mean, within 15 to 20 points for the entire season, I'm talking. So if 20 points, with 2 points a week maybe, difference in the 2. And if one of them has a gigantic game, outburst where he throws 4 touchdowns, one could easily leap over the other one, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
You want to move on to the next?
Yeah. 8 through 12-ish?
Yeah. Who do you have 8 through 12 there, James?
I have Matt Stafford at 8, Kirk Cousins at 9, Ben Roethlisberger at 10, Andrew Luck at 11, and I have Jimmy Garoppolo rounding out my top 12 for the QB1s. And that is I'm very wavy on. That's a one that I'm not solid on is Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'm wavy
I just
on
don't
Garoppolo,
want to. I just don't want to pencil him. He's on a new team, and he's never been a starting quarterback for the entire season before. He's got all these new weapons around him with McKinnon. Receivers are like, they're young receivers, but they're just like guys like Pierre Garçon and like Goodwin. These they're not like top tier guys by any means. Either is McKinnon, to be honest with you. So he doesn't really have like these stud weapons to throw to where he's walking into this just gold situation. You know, it's just tough for me to buy into the hype that he's getting and say like, oh yeah, I see them winning 10 games and Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a QB1. But yet here he is in my number 12. So I don't know why.
I said it before on a previous podcast that the worst thing that could have happened to him was going 5-0 at the end of the season with that trade.
Right, because the expectation now is
through the roof, and they're ready to put him in the Hall of Fame in San Francisco. You see a lot of these guys that are taking him, even like in dynasty drafts, are taking him like so early that aren't even super flex.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to just be realistic with it, and you can't just base it off of what he did those 5 games at the end of the season.
Where do you have Garoppolo?
I mean, I have him pretty low. He's back end QB2 for me.
So that's what I want. That's where I wanted to put him. But then I started looking at the names around, and I'm like, okay, you can beat this guy out. Oh, for sure, you can beat this guy out. I'm like, you know, the guys that are going around, like the Dak Prescotts and the Bortles and the Phillip Rivers and like all these guys. Like I can see them right in with that tier. On my list, I did it by tiers, and I have him in the same tier as Roethlisberger, Mahomes, Rivers, Goff. Like they're all in the same tier for me. And I don't know why I put him at 12, just because he's like a new, fresh quarterback, and I think they're going to open up the playbook for him a little bit because he was able to get comfortable with it for the last 5 games last season. He does know the playbook. Now he has a whole offseason to kind of gel with everyone. The division, to me, is not that tough. It's Arizona, Seattle. The only one that's really tough is the Rams. So, I don't know. I'm just very... If you want to tell me right now that Garoppolo's going to finish number 20, I would say, okay. I wouldn't bet it.
The plus for me is it's Shanahan. So I think that's very good for the quarterback. I think I'm just not ready to move him up quite yet. I think there will be a little bit of struggles as the main guy. I could see myself bumping him up though, because he's one of the guys I'm waiting to see some of the things in training camp and really too in the preseason too, how that team kind of looks. But he's a guy that is, for me, primed to maybe jump a few spots because I do like his game. I do think he's going to be a pretty solid quarterback. But I'm not ready to just throw him over some of the strong bets that perennially finish in that top area.
If he was your number 1 quarterback, like on redraft, obviously, like he's your number 1, like would you feel pretty confident of like, okay, because he's got to be going... He's going early but in quarterback-wise, quarterbacks usually in redrafts go kind of later. They don't start going until, usually like the Aaron Rodgers and those guys go in the 3rd and 4th round. So you got to think Garoppolo's probably going in like the 7th or 8th round, maybe 9th.
That's why I don't think I'll own Garoppolo this year because
you'd rather have the guys after him for cheaper.
Well, yeah, in every league we play in, you kind of get in that situation where someone loves that player, and we play in a bunch of leagues where Garoppolo's going to go earlier than he should go. It's not just one guy that we play with that likes Garoppolo. There's a few guys, so they all know they like the same guy, and so they're all going to be vying for him. So they're all going to take him a round or 2 earlier than they should because they want to be the guy that has him. And if it pans out, then awesome, man. Great for you. See, he's somebody I won't have because I don't want to spend a 5th or 6th round pick on Jimmy Garoppolo hoping that this happens. And I kind of have the same situation to where my tier ends at number 9 with Luck. And then I kind of have all those guys bunched together. So any one of those guys in the Garoppolo, Cousins, Rivers, Goff, Mariota, Roethlisberger, I have them all in the same tier. Mm-hmm. So any one of those guys can pretty much interchange. I'm highest on Garoppolo, but I don't feel good about it.
But like when you do that tier, it's cool because like if you do your rankings in tiers instead of just like number 1, number 2, number 3, when it comes to you and you're like, okay, this 3rd tier, I have these 5 guys. And 2 of those 5 are gone, you're still looking at that tier of like, okay, I'm okay. If I get the last guy, quote unquote, in that tier,
right,
I'm still okay. And if I can wait another 2 full rounds to get that guy that's in my same tier, I'm going to wait and I'll take somebody else at a different position knowing that, hey, look, one of these 2 guys or one of these 4 guys is still going to be there later. And instead of having to spend a 9th round pick, now you're spending like an 11th or a 12th round pick and still getting a guy that you think is pretty similar to the other guys who are in that tier. So it depends on how you do your rankings.
Yeah, I agree. If you haven't used tiers in drafting, I would look into it because it's definitely a game changer a little bit. You're not stuck. I think it helps you from or keeps you from reaching for guys because you feel like, oh God, my next guy on my list, I got to get him. But like you said, if you got like 5 guys, who cares? You know you're gonna get one of those guys.
Question for both of you: have you ever been in a draft where you didn't do the tier thing and you just have the 1 through 24 quarterbacks or whatever running backs, whatever it is, and it's your turn and you've done your little list, you've crossed off the names or you're using your app, whatever, and the next guy that you have on your list is there and you're up on the clock and you're looking at that name and you're like, you know what? And you scroll down like 2 or 3 or 4 names lower and you're like, I really like this guy more than this guy, and it's like you end up taking the guy anyways that's below the guy that is quote higher in your rankings. You don't take that guy. Like, has that happened before?
Because it happened to me every
time.
draft.
And I'm like thinking, well, obviously I like this guy more than I thought because now I'm looking 3, 4, 5 names down my list and I'm like, ooh, this guy at 30, I like more than I have the guy at number 25. So to me, it always is like a ever-changing type of thing where you might have a guy that has the same bye week, so you're like, oh, let me scroll down here, let me see it. Or the guy's on the same team, and you know what I mean? Like you have Kamara, and you don't want to take Ingram or that type of thing.
Well, yeah, that's why tiers come in handy.
I recommend it.
Yeah, like we all do rankings 1 through whatever, 1 through 24 for quarterbacks. But like you said, like they're all when you do tiers, it's just so much easier to figure out once you're drafting because you don't have to be stuck or handcuffed to that guy that you have next on your ranking.
Have you done that before? Taking a guy below. Like the next
sure,
guy list?
for sure.
So then what the question is, I guess, and why do you have to be on the clock to really know who you like better? Because there's a lot of times where I do my rankings and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put Russell Wilson above Tom Brady, whatever. And then it comes time and I'm like, damn, Tom Brady's still there? And then you're looking like, well, Russell Wilson's my next guy, but I really like Tom Brady. Why didn't I put Tom Brady ahead of Russell Wilson to begin with? Like, you have to have that pressure of being on the clock, being like, who are you riding with right now? Like, you're on the clock, you have 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
I think
weird.
I think
feeling.
sometimes when you're making like if you're putting your rankings together, it'd be nice to go into like a cave somewhere and not hear or see anything about anything because that stuff starts to creep in when you're making your rankings and you're like, oh well, I can't really put this guy up here.
What if somebody
90% of the community thinks this guy's ahead of him?
Am I gonna get laughed at for having this guy ahead of this guy and like whatever? And like sometimes in drafts, like that's why drafts are so fun. Is because people change their mind literally on the clock because somebody else is like, you're gonna take who? And it's like it's outright. This guy didn't even make my list, and then you're like, oh damn.
We've used that as a strategy before, like in drafts. Like that's what live drafts are so much fun. Like you're sitting there, and someone will literally be like, hey, you just picked, so you're not picking, before me. What do you think of this guy? And I'll be like, ugh. And I might like that guy,
right?
And just hope that he drops a little bit because I'm like, damn, I thought this guy was gonna drop one more round, and I'm like looking, I'm like, I mean, if you want to take him, go for it. Like you just kind of give him that little like nudge.
It might be a little early.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's tactics.
my favorite thing at the draft is like when somebody kind of goes and grabs their guy is the guy from the back of the room that's like, reach.
I love that. I love doing that.
Yeah.
I love doing that because that's not meant for that pick. That's meant to set him up for future picks to think like, damn, maybe my rankings are a little off.
Right.
Then they start taking names that people know because they're like, okay, you can't go wrong taking a huge name like LaShawn McCoy. Or like somebody that's a big name like that. But like in the later rounds, 7th through like the 12th, 13th round, when you're getting all those position players and your backups and you're getting your depth, you start questioning your rankings. When people are like, whoa, that's a reach, or oh, wow, like I can't believe you took that guy. You start looking at your list and you're like, oh, damn, like, did I mess up here? You know what I mean? It's there's a lot of tactics that you can use. And I'm not proud of them, but in fantasy football, it's like, anything goes. The only thing I don't like, though, and I know that you guys don't like it either, is when you have a guy that you're targeting and you have like 5 or 6 picks or maybe even 4 picks left before you choose, and somebody starts saying names. I absolutely hate that when somebody is like, oh, Zach Ertz, huh? And you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you don't know this guy's rankings. You don't know what he's doing. Maybe he has Zach Ertz, 10 spots lower, but I want Zach Ertz, and I'm targeting Zach Ertz, and now you start saying names out?
Well,
I hate that.
Guess what?
I will never do that.
That's a tactic, too, because you're like, oh, I can't believe so-and-so's still out there.
That is
you don't
annoying.
want that guy whatsoever, but you
know.
want somebody to take him, so your guy falls to
For
you.
sure.
That is a tactic, but I think the way that people are using it is not a tactic. I think that they're just, I don't know what they're
I know,
thinking.
it's like they're, I don't know either. I guess I would love to try it to see like, but I'm like, I don't want to screw somebody else. Like the tactics I use is like after picks are made, then, you know what I mean? Like then I'll say something. I'll never say something when somebody's on the clock and being like, I can't believe that Antonio Brown's still there. Oh my God, like whatever. You know, I'm not gonna ever say a name like that because then that guy might take Antonio Brown, and then you are pissed off because you're like, well, thanks, man. Like I was targeting that guy. Like why would you say the name if the guy's not talking about it? You know what I mean?
The other thing that bothers me too is, and this happens a lot in redraft, is
A lot of stuff bothers us.
Well, all of our leagues are with friends.
We're bothered by everything. Just to let you guys know.
All of our leagues are with friends, right? And let's say I pick at the number 12 spot, and somebody that's picking number 9, like will lean over to me and be like, "I'm thinking this guy. What do you think?" And I really like that guy. Like,
Right.
what am I supposed to say?
You lie.
What am I supposed to say? Like
I'm
I'm
just saying,
looking
look,
at,
I pick right after you, man.
I'm looking at like AJ Green at number 12, and this guy's got pick number 9 or 10, and he's like, "Man, what do you think about AJ Green?" I'm like, "What am I supposed to like? I don't know. I don't like him, man." Or just do what you want to do. Like,
Well,
what am I
you
supposed to
can't
say?
win there because if you say you love him, or yeah, I really like him, and he takes him, now you lose your guy. But if you tell him no, I don't like him, and then 2 picks later you take him,
Now
now
you're
you
a
look
jerk.
like an a-hole. Yes.
This is why you need to start playing poker with us when we play
Oh,
poker. Because
God.
this is all like poker. Dude.
Yes,
It's like
yeah.
somebody's trying to get a read on you. Like
Right.
they know.
Even if you don't say a word,
Right.
your facial expression,
Right.
like, hey, what do you think about that guy? And then they look at you and you're like this, like,
Even if they're not looking at you, I know you're a huffer and a puffer
Oh, for
sometimes.
sure.
Where he's like,
yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's fine.
it's like
Just take him,
all
whatever.
those little things. You're saying stuff without saying anything. So
Oh, for sure. Looks can kill, and so can breathing method. I hate when somebody breathes at a draft. You know,
draft night is the best night.
when somebody breathes really hard to draft, it irritates me. No, so anybody else that you guys want to? Oh, Travis, what was your 8 through 12? What do you have? Any
Oh,
surprises
8
there?
to 12. I got Breeze.
Okay.
Roethlisberger at 9. Carson Wentz is down at 10 for me. He's another guy that could move up with some encouraging news because there's still a little ifs concerning him. That is he going to start the beginning of the season? All this stuff. I want to see something that tells me, yeah, he's ready to go.
So you're definitely the lowest on Wentz out of the 3 of us.
For sure.
I have him in the top 5. Do you? You do, Jay?
Yeah, I have him at 4.
Okay. So Wentz
yeah,
for
I
sure.
know. He had a great year last year before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Um,
It is hard to
but
jump
it's-
right
it's-
back on the
it's
train.
that injury thing. If he just I don't know, the fear of taking a few hits and then getting banged up again. Like I want to make sure he's right.
Can't live by fear, man.
That's true.
No, but you got to be pragmatic and you got to be realistic, like you said earlier about some guys. So after that, I got Mariota, who I think is due for a nice uptick.
We will talk
this
about
season.
that for sure. Go ahead.
And Phillip Rivers, tried and true Phillip.
So both of you had Phillip Rivers at 12.
Right at the dot, yeah.
Above Garoppolo. Or no, I'm sorry, Jay, you had Garoppolo at 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so me and Jay had Garoppolo in the top 12. The only difference is Travis did not. He has Rivers. Jay also has Rivers at 12. Rivers, for me, finished just outside. He finished number 14. But easily, I could see him finishing in the top 12 with all the weapons they have there. But he kind of reminds me of what you were talking about with Cousins. I think that the defense is going to be so solid there in the secondary and everything that they have going on there. They're a young defense. It's going to be really good this year. And I don't think he's going to have to throw the ball like he has in the past. Like, if you look at the past, 3 years, they're always losing games. And that last second half, Rivers goes from having 100 yards passing to 385, and you're like, what happened? And it's just dump down, Keenan Allen, long. It's like he's throwing the ball 40 times a game minimum, but I don't think he's going to have to do that this season. I think that their defense is beefed up so much that they're going to be a top 7 or 8 defense easily.
He may not have to do that, but their defense has been good
It
the
was
last
good
few
last
years.
year.
Good.
It's been good. Okay, it's been good since Rivers has been there. For the last 3 or 4 years, the Chargers defense has been good.
Okay.
And he still throws it 40 times a game, even when he has a good defense. They don't run the ball that much. Because they do have a lot of dump offs. So
He finished number 8 last season.
Rivers did.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So I have him going down a little bit.
but that was after they had that horrible start, and then they were losing every game. And it seemed like every game last year or last couple seasons came down to a field goal for the Chargers. If you look at the last 2 seasons, how many games came down to either a missed field goal or a last minute drive or they were always close games.
They lost 2 games
Right.
because of
Missed field goals.
missed field goals, which would have got them in the playoffs. They started the season 0-4, and then I think they went 9-3
Right.
the last 12 games.
Right, but they lost a couple of very close games, and I mean, I can definitely see them finishing ahead of Garoppolo for sure. But can we talk about Mariota? Because to me, Mariota, I'm the most unsure about of any of the 12 guys we talked about, or 14 guys-ish that we talked about, because new offense, new offensive coordinator.
I
new head
like
coach.
his offensive coordinator, though. They got Matt LaFleur from the Rams, which you saw what he did with Goff. And I'm not saying they're the same type of quarterback, but I think that he's going to come in and he's going to use Mariota to his strengths. Now, Travis has him at number 11. I have him at 14, so it's not that far off. I could definitely see him sneaking into the top 12.
He's 17 for me, and he starts my tier 4. He's the break of it goes Rivers, Jared Goff, Matt Ryan is all tier 3, and then tier 4 is Mariota, and he starts that because I'm not sure about what's going on there. Why do you like him so much? Just same reason Jay just.
Yeah, same reasons Jay said. Like I think they're going to use them how he needs to be used, and we've been seeing them be like that smash mouth, exotic smash mouth, whatever it is. They brought in a running back that's going to be better at catching passes. They brought in some pass catchers the last couple of years. They got a good tight end. He's a mobile kind of guy. He throws touchdown passes to himself. So this kid, I think, is due for a bounce back. So, and I love the offensive coordinator is a big part of the reason why I bumped him up as well.
I just got, when he first came into the league, I got sucked into the hype of how good he was at Oregon and that style of offense, and I thought that's how Tennessee was going to use him, of like the short passes, slant routes, be able to roll out and kind of run, and give him that option of a dual threat running back that can run and also pass, and he has a strong arm, he's very accurate. I loved everything about him, and all the hype got out of control, and he started going really high in drafts, and he never really panned out to what he was supposed to be when they drafted him, but it's because of the style of the offense they were running. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he came out and had a gigantic season if they use him correctly, which how could you not? Like if he's been in the league for 3 or 4 years now, like if it didn't work and you weren't getting to where you were, you didn't think you were getting the production out of him that you should have, how do you not change things up a little bit? You know what I mean? Like change it up. Throw some plays in there that like look at what Oregon did with him and how many points they were scoring and how they were running that offense. You had a young core with, all the guys that were there. There was no one that was really that old except for Delaney Walker was like probably 28.
I think you can't necessarily expect a coaching staff to just change its stripes.
After years, though? Like,
it doesn't matter.
First year doesn't work, second year doesn't work, eventually.
Philosophy, your system, you don't just can the whole thing and try to start from scratch and change it all up. There are the ones
you can add to it. You can always get better, though.
Some are better at that than others, and we've seen that, especially over the last few years. Some of these younger blood coordinators and coaches getting involved in those kind of decisions, as opposed to the good old boys that have been doing things the same way and they don't want to change. And if they do change, it's very small, sample sizes of change. When they started running kind of more no huddle last year with Tennessee, you could see that's when Mariota kind of shines.
I was hoping that, yes.
The whole team was begging for it.
You just want to see that more.
So I think the type of coordinator that's coming in is you are going to see that more.
But no one has a concern though of their receiving core.
Of Tennessee's receiving core? No, I
don't.
Okay,
like Rashard Matthews is what he is. He'll never be a wide receiver 1. He's kind of a wide receiver 2-3 ish range. You have Corey Davis, who didn't really pan out because of the injuries and the system they were running. Is kind of what I chalk that up to.
It's rookie season though.
Okay, again, right. So now it's only his second year. So usually it's the third year or so when the receivers come back. So you have Rashard Matthews, a wide receiver 2-3 ish, and then you have Corey Davis that hasn't really developed yet, and then you have Tywan Taylor and like a bunch of just guys. Like you have Delaney Walker, who's solid, but he's older. Like, I just don't – I look at the receiving core, and it kind of scares me. It's like, can Mariota really make these guys produce enough to where Mariota squeezes into the top 12 as a QB1? And I just don't see it.
Yeah, I do. I think this is a team. They got 2 good running backs in Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis. They got, definitely comparable. Like, I like Corey Davis. I think that he has the skill. He flashed in small pieces. I think part of that is the coaching staff and the style. And he was a little kind of banged up coming into the season. So, I mean –
receiving core-wise,
he did get a late enough that if he's healthy, I feel like he's very comparable. And Rashard Matthews is a great journeyman guy to have.
I agree with that.
Great number 2.
As a number 2 or 3,
can fill in as the number 1 if somebody goes down. Like he's had good seasons to where he shines like that. I don't think he's the guy that you necessarily want to depend on, but he's a great stash late in the draft.
Plus Mariota does it with his legs too, so you have to take that into account.
He can. He hasn't really yet though.
But that was old school.
He can, but I'm saying we don't know for sure that's how they're going to use it.
He doesn't have to rush for 1,000 yards.
We don't know anything for sure, but I mean,
as far as receiving core goes, Tennessee Titans are in the bottom 5.
I don't know.
With Dallas and those, yes they are. In my opinion.
No, I have them ahead of Dallas.
My opinion.
I mean, I don't see them
ahead of Dallas. I think they're like number 27th overall. Who has a worse receiving core? Dallas.
I mean, this isn't a discussion
Washington?
about the worst receiving core, but
well, yeah, it is because it directly affects the production of the quarterback. If you have receivers like Dak Prescott, I think to me takes a huge hit this season not having Dez and having a bunch of guys that are just average guys, and I think that's what Tennessee has. And it's very hard for me to say a quarterback with average weapons around him is going to get into QB1 range at like anywhere near it.
Well, just looking at I have Mariota at number 14 myself, and he has him at number 11. And just looking at the top 14, he probably has the second worst receiving crew out of the top 14. but he has a better receiving crew than some of the guys that are below him. And that's why I'm kind of saying that. Like,
The only guy that has a worse receiving core is Andrew Luck, correct?
well, at least Andrew Luck has T.Y. Hilton.
That's what I'm saying. I was
The
going to say.
I was gonna say the Niners have a worse receiving core
I don't think so.
with Pierre Garcon and
Garcon and Goodwin and Trent Taylor and Pettis and Kettle and those
it
guys.
sounds
Yeah, I'd rather
it sounds
have
like
that.
a 31-year-old Garcon and just a bunch of guys.
Yeah, it does sound like a bunch of guys.
Well, so is Matthews and a bunch of guys. What do you mean?
Right. That's what I'm trying to tell you is that I put them in the same
Would you
kind of
rather have-
category.
Okay. All right.
I'd rather have Tennessee's.
Okay.
I'd rather have Corey Davis and Taywan Taylor and Rashard Matthews than Garcon and Trent Taylor and.
Well, there's
Wanna do a
how
wall
many guys do you want to really
Sure.
like in San Fran when you got Shanahan who favors normally the X receiver, and like Garcon's role is going to get the huge role, the Julio Jones type of role when he was in Atlanta. So it all depends on the coaching as well, and I think a fair assumption to make is LaFleur having a huge influence as the offensive coordinator because Vrabel's not going to be setting up the offense and implementing the
No,
offense. So.
it's not going to be his job at all.
So I like Mariota this season, so I didn't want to fall into the like we were talking earlier, where you start ranking guys and you're like, oh man, I can't put this guy up here, and I was trying hard. I had to talk myself out of a few of them of just putting
And that's
guys
why,
in spots.
right? That's why you go by tiers, though. That's the same way. Like I have Roethlisberger at number 15, which is the lowest by far of any of us.
How
And
do you not make your top 12?
he's in the same tier as the guys like Rivers, Goff, Mariota, but I'm just worried because Haley's gone. It's strictly an offensive coordinator thing. Haley was one of the best offensive-minded coordinators the last 6-7 years. You saw him do it every year, even though they kind of butted heads sometimes. They still had this very prolific offense. I'm worried about Le'Veon Bell holding out again and not having a whole lot behind him. And then you have Roethlisberger, who has a great receiving core, and that's the one part about his game that I love. I'm just worried about the offensive coordinator situation.
Last season, Roethlisberger finished 9th, and he missed a game. And then the season before that, he finished 12th, and he also missed 2 games there.
Okay.
So both QB1 finishes, both of them missed games and still finishes QB1. So I'll add the points that he didn't get there and adjust that accordingly to not having the offensive coordinator. And I still think that there's no chance he doesn't finish as a top 12 with all the weapons around him.
He
It would
well
be very
could.
hard not to finish in the top 12
He very well could.
unless he gets hurt.
But he does this year.
It's possible.
I don't own him in any league, so that's okay with me. So do we want to come back to quarterback rankings later on in the month and maybe start talking about 13 through 24, or we can kind of leave it at 12? We haven't really discussed it, so might as well do it live.
Let's just blaze through 13 through 24.
We can blaze through 13 and just not go into too much too much depth.
Okay.
So
and not get sidetracked a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Focus, Jay.
at 13 I have like I just mentioned a minute ago, I have Jared Goff, Marcus Mariota, Ben Roethlisberger, and Matt Ryan rounding up to 16.
Okay.
Any huge differences there with you guys?
Pat Mahomes, you said, or no?
No.
So I have actually had Patrick Mahomes at number 13. So for 13 through 16 for me is Patrick Mahomes at 13, Rivers 14, Jared Goff is 15, Matt Ryan is 16. So the difference for me would be Pat Mahomes. Again, he's one of those guys that I put in with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that the weapons that are around him, adding Sammy Watkins and all the guys there, and I've heard, and I hope it's not coach speak, and I hope it's not player speak, and I hope it's not me just getting hype trained about him, but everyone's saying that he looks absolutely amazing in all the OTAs and all the practices they've done last season into this season. And I don't want to say this, but they were comparing him to like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, and like,
Bro, slow
I mean-
down. Slow down. Like, you're catching the vapes.
just saying. I like Patrick Mahomes. I would not be surprised if he squeaked in the top 12.
His hype has gotten out of control just like
Yeah,
Garoppolo's
I think
has,
so.
except for Garoppolo at least did it for 5 games. Mahomes played 1 game, and Travis even brought up that he threw for 270 yards and no touchdowns. So
The only positive thing was it was Denver's #1 defense. That's a positive thing. But also, I think Alex Smith was kind of in his ear also helping him out through that as well. I think he's good. I like the kid's talent. I just think it's going to be a big learning curve this year for him. I think there's probably going to be a lot of interceptions. Is he going to make some awesome plays? Yeah, I do think he does. But I think it's definitely this isn't the year for me to jump on the Mahomes train. Garoppolo for me is down a little bit as well. It's my 13 through 16. Is that what we did?
yeah,
I got Matt Ryan, who I think kind of gets a little bit of an uptick. It's the second year in Sarkisian's system offense that they kind of implemented. You go back and talk with Shanahan with him. His first year under Shanahan was terrible. The second year was much better. So I think he kind of comes back to the fold a little bit. Andrew Luck, I had to throw him in somewhere, so this is kind of where I threw him in. I'm still very worried about that shoulder, but I do think that this is another guy. If training camp comes and everything's starting to line up and all the pieces look like, okay, he is looking good, he is looking healthy, he'll get bumped up for sure, because if he is right and healthy, he's definitely a QB1 for me. Alex Smith I have next, and then I have Blake Bortles.
Okay,
Alex Smith that high, huh?
And Bortles.
I don't mind Bortles that high. Alex Smith, that seems like a homer pick for me, but
Is it? Be truthful.
No, not at all.
Are you Homer Simpson?
No, I think he's kind of tried and true and steady. He's coming back to a team that the offensive line should be healthy now. It's not going to be the same situation because a lot of injuries happened in Washington last year. So the offensive line should be healthy. You got some, from what he does, we'll kind of spread it around. That's the kind of receiving core he has and tight end. But they also got the running game, which should be taken care of, and I'm expecting it to be taken care of with Darius Geis. So I think he's the perfect kind of quarterback for what's going on there right now. I think he's very capable. He's not going to throw a ton of interceptions. So I think he's, and he can kind of move with his legs. He doesn't do it a lot, but he's able to kind of get out there and move around a little bit. And then Blake Bortles, same thing. I think they got what's going on there. I think what I thought about Blake Bortles before last year was just garbage time quarterback. But I think he did enough to kind of hold on to his job there. So I think
the big thing is they didn't draft a quarterback. They didn't go out and get one in free agency. They obviously fully believe in him. He's got a young receiving core around him. You put Leonard Fournette as a top 6 or 7 running back.
Good defense, good running game.
Yeah,
I like Blake.
But see, for fantasy points though, it's like when somebody says they have a good defense and a good running game, my first instinct is to tick them down, because I'm like, okay, well, if they're going to be running most of the time because the defense is so good, that's not good for my fantasy quarterback as far as relevance wise. Like if Blake Bortles was your number 1 in a redraft fantasy league, would either one of you two feel very comfortable about playing him every single week?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Jay?
no, to me he'd be a spot starter.
Right. Like if somebody was like, oh, let me see your team, you're like, all right, well, I got Le'Veon Bell and I got this guy and Blake Bortles is my starter.
Is
and
it
you're like,
sexy? Does it sound sexy?
No, definitely not.
Is he a guy you can throw in? Yeah, I definitely.
But every week to have to rely on him is scary to me.
I have him at number 20 myself, Bortles, and I thought
20.
I would be the highest.
I'm at 21.
Okay, I thought I'd be the highest, but
for sure I could see top 15. I don't see him as a QB1.
I can see him as a high end QB2 though. Like if you have him in a 2 quarterback league, I like that, but I don't want to have him in a redraft as my number 1.
I agree.
He's basically a backup guy.
Why are we so low on Matt Ryan? All of us, though, real quick.
It's because this is everyone talks about
Look
waiting on a quarterback to draft
but
though.
Look at that offense.
Look at everybody ahead of him on the rankings though. Like
I
who
could see him
ahead of.
Well, for me, Pat Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo. I could see him finishing higher than Andrew Luck, depending on his injury. Jared Goff had an amazing season, but that's not guaranteed he's going to duplicate that. So I could easily see him getting into like the top 10 at least. Now he's not going to be a top 5 like he used to be for a couple seasons, but all these guys are in that same tier 3 for me. I can flip flop any one of those guys. The only guy I don't see him beating out is Ben Roethlisberger in my tier 3.
Yeah, he's 13 for me, so he's
just
right
outside.
there.
But like you look at Julio Jones and Devontae Freeman, and we all know who's there. Tevin Coleman, it's new. Now they add Calvin Ridley. Like the offense is primed to go, and the defense is not that great, which means they're gonna be throwing a ton. So
I think Atlanta has that little bounce back, from
Super Bowl
kind of what was been going on. Yeah, and the exit of Shanahan and Sarkisian getting the second year going. So
okay. So 17 through, let's just go through 24. Anybody want to go first? 17 to 24.
I got Jared Goff at 17.
Mm-hmm.
I got Garoppolo at 18. Andy Dalton at 19.
Wow.
Mahomes comes in at 20. Then I got Eli Manning, Keenum, Prescott, and Derek Carr to round it out.
Before anybody says anything, I went down at number 27. Andy Dalton did not make my top 27.
I
hate him.
I have Dalton at 27.
I have Tyrod Taylor and Sam Bradford ahead of Andy Dalton.
I don't have Bradford. I have Tyrod Taylor. What about Jameis Winston? Does anybody? I mean, obviously he gets bumped down because of 4-game suspension or 3-game suspension.
I put Winston at 24 and I put him in tier undraftable. Is Winston, Flacco, Taylor, and Bradford is tier undraftable for me.
I have Winston at 24. Like
okay, me too.
Back end quarterback 2.
Winston didn't make your list because of the suspension?
Yeah, because you're missing 4 weeks. You're gonna miss those 3 games and the bye most likely. So
true.
That was enough for me to really kind of shove him down there. I mean, I would take him in a draft depending on where it's at and where he falls.
Did you say Derek?
My QB2.
Did you name Derek Carr at all?
Yeah, he's my 24.
Okay. Oh, Derek Carr's your 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Derek Carr's my 18.
I have him at 18. as well.
I think that
But I don't know. He's one of those guys that like I thought he was going to be doing a lot better with the team, and now it's going to be different coach, and I think that actually benefits him a little bit. But now you're bringing all this whole new weapons and receiving core, so it could throw that off again. Like, are they going to gel well or not? It's kind of up in the air.
Well, he's going to gel well with Cooper.
Yeah, he's gonna force feed that boy.
He's going to make him force feed. So mine's 17 to 24 is Marcus Mariota at 17. These are all tier 4 guys for me. Mariota at 17, Derek Carr 18, Dak Prescott at 19. At 20, I have Alex Smith. Then Blake Bortles at 21, Case Keenum 22, Eli Manning 23, and then Winston and tier undraftable. So I won't own him. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, I have to round out mine. I have Prescott at 17, Carr at 18, Mahomes at 19, Bortles at 20, Keenum at 21, Alex Smith at 22, Trubisky at 23, and Winston at 24.
You know what? That's one guy. Just as you said, Trubisky. I don't know how he didn't make my top 27. I definitely need to put him in there ahead of Jameis Winston.
I expected you to have him up there. I know you like
I'm gonna,
Trubisky.
I'm gonna pencil him right now, number 24, and right ahead of Jameis Winston.
I
don't know. I don't know how.
Trubisky is somebody that if you decide to wait on a quarterback and you don't get one of those top tier guys like a Rodgers, Wilson, Brady, Wentz, Watson, one of those guys, and you decide to go with like a lower tier, he's somebody that I would love as like a quarterback too. That if you had to play him in certain games or like matchup based, he's somebody that I love.
I don't know how I miss him, but yes, I do like him this season. I think that all the weapons there are going to benefit him tremendously. And second year, so I like Trubisky.
It's first year in that system. The arguments you were making against Mariota, it's the same.
Well, yeah, I definitely don't see him anywhere near the top like 14,
Yeah.
but I could see him finishing between like 18 and 22, 18, 24.
I tell you what, I like his position with Nagy's offense more than I like him with John Fox in that whole situation. Like he doesn't even like playing rookies, let alone letting them open up the playbook to see what they can do.
It was very basic, whatever. But they were down every single game, and he had to throw a lot with not that much to throw to. Like, who do you really have in Chicago that was in the receiving core last season? I can't even. Who?
No, because Cameron Meredith got
went
hurt.
down.
Yeah.
So it was just a bunch of dudes, and now you add Allen Robinson, you add Taylor Gabriel, who could be okay. Trey Burton, Anthony Miller. They drafted. Like I love their young receiving core there. I think they're gonna do really well. And Shaheen's still there too.
I don't know about really well. But I agree. I like what's happening. I don't know if it's this year necessarily.
It could be one more season.
Because of the youth.
Well, yeah, Robinson coming off season, any injury. Taylor Gabriel didn't really do much in Atlanta if you really want to pick it apart. But, I mean, I just like the young talent that's there. They could be good. But, yeah, it might take a year.
It's one of those teams that I feel like is part of the hype train as well. It's Chicago. With what's going on there and all the changes, and nobody knows what it's really going to be. You don't have a really history to look at to be like, oh, it's Fox. It's going to be the same old thing. It's one of those things where some of those guys I think are going to go a little higher than I would take them. I do like some of the pieces there for sure. But
like
I think
Allen
they're going to
Robinson,
go a little higher.
way too high. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. There's a lot of unknowns there.
Wait till the receiver rankings.
Just wait.
That's the one that's gonna be. I think
we're gonna blow the roof off this mother.
Yeah, and if you want to see all the quarterback rankings we're talking about, so you can actually have a visual in front of you, Travis has those up on www.triplecoveragepodcast.com. You can go check out all of our stuff there, and hopefully that'll help you out. And you can even do like a little consensus,
or email us and tell us how bad we are or good we are. Take my rankings, print them out, and use them in your draft. That's all.
Just somebody talk to us, please.
Yeah, please. Anything else that you guys want? Did everyone do their 17 through 24?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yes. Let's crack
Please.
cold ones, boys.
crack it.
Crack it.
Celebration.
Crack it.